Hello and welcome back, guys. Welcome to the last session of the day. This is amazing that we've made it in to the end of such amazing speakers and chats. But, you know, I'm not going to say that we've left the best to last, but I mean, this session is going to be unreal. So I am actually going to introduce you to the amazing Jack Jones. Now, the title of this session is actually From Elite Sport to Passion and Purpose. And I really couldn't think of a better person to actually take us through a journey and unpack this topic, because Jack Jones is from the Banksia project and he has had the most amazing career to date. I'm going to take you through his bio. So just to give you some context, Jack was a strapping, or I might say is still a strapping, well-educated male who played elite sport with supportive friends and family. But when he went through tough times with severe depression and even suicide, he realised that he didn't know how to deal with his emotions. Jack has undergone multiple university degrees while pursuing sport, as well as embracing life. In his short career, he has worked in operating theatres, carrying around some limbs. He has worked in medical centres. He has mentored Indigenous students in Sydney and remote Indigenous communities in the Northern Territory. And he has helped start mental health charity, the Banksia Project. The Banksia project trains community members to support each other by providing the skills and framework to do so, while giving them access to qualified mental health professionals should they be required. It really focuses on the peer-based intervention and upskilling, aiming to prevent crisis, and is underpinned by so many of the factors that so many people like Jack need to manage mental health and well-being proactively and consistently. I am going to throw to a quick video now that will take you behind the scenes of the Banksia project and explain its relevance and why it's such an important project to be a part of. And then we'll get Jack back to have our Q&A. So let's throw to the video now.
Life is tough. Life is hard more often than it is easy.
Everything was very good. I found myself on the couch, kind of, in tears every morning.
I got a lot of hate. There was a page on Facebook at one point that was just like, said Alex Hayes should go kill himself.
And it was a sense of pride for me to say I was a signed artist, this and that in music. And so when that was taken away from me, it was, am I enough now? You know what I mean? What does this mean?
You come home, you feel like you've failed so many situations, and you feel like shit.
So what the Banksia project tries to do is really emphasise that it's to get mentally fit and healthy so that when things occur, you've got the skills to deal with it safely.
Stepping into a growth room is a massive step emotionally, psychologically, but the benefit of doing that is massive.
It's really hard to reveal that you're struggling. But if your mate says, look, hey, I'm going through these things in my life, this is not easy for me at the moment, sometimes it opens up the conversation where they feel comfortable to talk about how they're struggling at the moment too.
It's a really amazing thing to witness in these growth rooms that participants come there and they share instantly. They feel safe, they feel supported, and it's almost a sacred space, which is quite special to witness.
Mates talking to mates is really what appeals to me about the Banksia project.
It's super important to surround yourself with people that support you and want to see you succeed and want to see you do better and be happy.
I am not the best right now. And learning that that's okay to be like that.
Take off the mask and stop pretending.
Everyone's doing it tough, just different degrees of tough all the time.
It's giving us the platforms and giving us the tools and the connections to be resilient in the toughest times.
Wow, how incredible is that? So without further ado, I'd love to welcome you guys, welcome you, Jack, to CareerCon. So thank you for being here. I'm glad that everyone got to hear that incredible video and your welcome as well, because you've got such an incredible career journey, and I know that I'm so excited to unpack that today. So thank you for joining us. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks for having me, Kura.
So we're just going to get cracking into, just dissecting your career and finding all the good bits and pieces that most of the students need to hear about right now. So can you just take us back to the very start Tell us about young Jack growing up and why he decided to, go down the path that he did. And maybe explain a little bit about the sporting industry and how that kind of works as well, because it's a theme that we haven't discussed here yet on CareerCon. So really excited to hear your take on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think one thing that probably summarises young Jack is that school wasn't for him. Unfortunately, I found it boring. And I'm sure there are a lot of people listening that can probably relate to that in some way. It wasn't that I was disrespectful or anything like that. I just wasn't engaged. I didn't feel like there was anything that I was learning that I was really passionate about. I never fell in love with that thing, which I think, particularly when you're at that school leaving age, everyone's saying, look for the thing, look for that thing that you fall in love with. And I think it's really hard. And there are people that find that, which is great, but I didn't have it. The only thing that I did have that I was in love with was sport. And, pursuing rugby for me was something that was always the way to something else. That was always the goal, the next step. And I happened to be okay at it, which was good, and saw some success there. And I got a lot of good feedback from, parents, friends, coaches, even school staff, that school was able to be put on the back burner because I was always good at sport. And look, I know, I understand that's a complete privilege, but what that meant I did is I went and pursued, playing at a more elite level when I finished school. So that was heading up to Sydney University Rugby Club. I was from Canberra, moving up to Sydney University Rugby Club. And the best thing about that club is they said, look, we can offer you a few things, but most importantly, we can help you get a degree. We can help you with, tailored study programs and things like that to actually help you pass your university degree. So at the time, I was sort of going into the health field, and I thought I was going to be a practitioner of some sort, either a physio or even looking at medicine and things like that. But, I hadn't found that love. So I went up and started playing some footy up there, and also did my undergrad degree of health science. And then I also went and did a master's degree after that. But I think one of the things that was really interesting is sport can't be the be all and end all. For me, it was at that point. And I went through some really tough injuries, found it really hard to stay on the field and perform at that top level. And what that made really clear to me is that sport can't be the only avenue. It was really important that while I was pursuing that sport, and that was a great thing and something I was really passionate about, it was really important that I gave myself some other skills so that when at some point that sport came to a closure or I couldn't keep playing for whatever reason, that I had other avenues or other options to pursue. Now, for most people, that might come at 30, even later, that elite sport environment. For me, it came at about 24, 25 where I had to give it up. And so I was really lucky that I had some other skills and some other passions that I could pursue after that.
Yeah, right. Wow. Such a, I'd love for you to sort of dive a little bit deeper, because I didn't actually realise that you were from Canberra. And, how was it moving from, Canberra to Sydney at such a young age? What was the support network like, and how did you do that? Like, how did it actually go?
Look, I think at first it was obviously quite an intimidating thing. You're taking a huge change. Canberra was what I knew, and the comparison between Canberra and Sydney, Sydney's a big wide world, and so it was a big change for me. But it was something that I went, here's an opportunity. I think I had nothing else. As a 17, 18-year-old, you have nothing else tying you down. I was lucky enough, and I understand that's a very privileged position to come from, but I was lucky enough that I could pursue that. What I found once I moved to Sydney was that there are so many people who have done that exact same transition before me, whether it's from Canberra, any other town. So the more that you actually utilise those people, and there are people out there who their whole career is even helping people with that transition. So the more you can lean on others who have actually undergone that transition, because those people have been in that position before. They know what it's like moving up particularly from a small town or from Canberra to Sydney, and they know how daunting it can be as a 17, 18, 19-year-old. So I think it's really important that making that transition or making that leap will seem intimidating, and it might seem a little bit scary, But most importantly, there are so many people that when you make that leap that will be on the other side, and it might take a little bit of work as an individual to find those people. They might not be right in front of you, but once you do, I can promise that they will be there for that support.
Oh, awesome. No, that's great because, I think the current world that we live in, and with restrictions and travel restrictions, it's given, students a kind of a great opportunity where they can potentially study at a different uni online to, wherever they are and whatever state they live in. And on the other flip side, they can actually apply for jobs in areas that they probably wouldn't be able to. So it's kind of, it's great to hear, the way that you sort of settled into a new town and really sort of, grabbed the bull by the horns, kind of say, and really got the most out of that. Is 25, is that old in terms of sporting career and for it to be ending? Is that, or if you didn't have your injury, would you still have been on that path?
Yeah, look, absolutely. I think 25 is quite a young age for someone in rugby or even in the position that I played to be having to give it up. And I think that is something that you can't control. But there are also people who are forced to give it up much younger. And I think I was lucky. Again, it's a very privileged position to be able to play something that's a hobby and pursue it at an elite level, but have enough support around me that I could still work and I could still pursue study at the same time. But I also think it's important for me to touch on, Kura, that I know I mentioned how good that transition was and things just worked out. But I think it's important that it wasn't always easy. There was periods of time where I was working 40-hour weeks, studying full time and training for about 20, 25 hours a week. So while trying to be an 18, 19, 20-year-old and maintain a social life and friendships and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's really important that if that is something that someone listening is keen to pursue, it's not just going to roll out in front of you. It does take a lot of hard work and commitment, but at the same time, if you can find things that you're committed to at that time, and for me, sport, as I said, it was a hobby, so it wasn't hard for me to invest into that. The study that I did, I was actually really engaged with, and I actually really enjoyed my part-time work as well. So if you can find things that you're passionate about, they say, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah, God, I love that saying. I don't know if I've truly found it myself yet, but I think there's also a difference between passion and purpose. And I think sometimes, I think about it, I am truly passionate about getting up in my lounge room and having a boogie every day. But no, my purpose is definitely not to be in a Beyonce video. So, it's kind of like working those two out. But I think that leads perfectly into our next kind of discussion about skills, because, obviously you and the people around you worked out from an early age that your skill set was, really great with sport. And your kind of opportunities sort of came from there. But, in the industry that you're in now, and being a part of the Banksia project, can you kind of explain how the skills that you learned back then are transferable and are helping you do what you do now?
Absolutely. I think there's a whole range of things to touch on there. And I know one of the skills that, we sort of spoke about prior to this career was particularly, pursuing more skills, and whether that's higher education or after school. I really want to emphasize, I don't think that's the be all and end all. For me, university was something that was achievable. It was an option, but for some people it might not be, or they may not want to go there. So I think there are, but I think it's really important for anyone listening that there are education options available that aren't university. There are so many other options, and I do really think that learning skills, adding to your, I guess, portfolio, adding to your toolkit of the skills you have, gives you more options. You might not know which option you're going to take, but the more study and the more skills that you have under your belt, the more options you have to choose from. So for me, I guess it was really valuable. I guess the whole team sport aspect, I don't think you can shy away from how much that teaches in terms of interacting with others, learning to work with a team, learning to guide teams. And I think that's really useful, whether you're in a workplace, whether you're in a friendship group, all that stuff is just social interaction and social learning. But one of the things I think I then pursued, as I said, alongside my sport was my undergrad of health science. And that was a really generic, broad degree. I could have channeled it further, and I was intending to. But I think when I got to that degree, I went, if I was going to become a physio, so to speak, I would be in a box 2x2 or 4x4 dealing with 10 to 12 patients a day. And the practicality, that's amazing. That's a really exciting thing. But for me, I looked at it and I said, I want to think bigger. I want to understand, well, how can I make a bigger impact across a wider range? And so I went and pursued my master's degree in health management and project management. And by this point, that undergrad degree was something, I think if you haven't heard it yet and you are heading to uni, you will understand the term P's get degrees. I think, uni, undergrad, I wasn't as engaged as I should have been. And again, as I said, school wasn't always for me. But by the time I got to my master's, I really got to go, this is what I want to learn about. This is what I'm passionate about. And I gave everything to it. And then by doing that, I actually got so much in return. So combining, I guess, my study, my formal study, as well as my sport, as well as my work experience that I had up until this point. And when I was doing my degrees, I wasn't, making coffees or pulling beers like a lot of 18, 19, 20-year-olds find themselves doing. I was actually working at RPA Hospital in operating theatres. And so combining all of the knowledge that I'd had across the whole period really made it, I guess it made perfect sense to get into the environment I have. And I was always sort of looking into that social justice and helping others space. Which, as you read out, that began as working in Indigenous communities based in Redfern, but in the Northern Territory quite regularly as well. And then through my own personal experiences relating to the Banksia project, I ended up here. So as I said, just the more experiences and exposure, the more options I had available for me.
Yeah. And it sounds like that you did say yes to a lot of things as well, like, putting your hand up. And I guess a question that I have in regards to your career is that, and maybe you aren't even aware of this, but as you talk about it, it just sounds like amazing opportunity after amazing opportunity. You've been able to move and pivot. But I mean, you openly talk about the fact that, you sort of struggled with finding your self-worth at school, and, you did have situations of depression. And, I find it interesting that, all of these opportunities came to you. What did you do when you were finding yourself in those situations? Like, how did you actually pull yourself out to go on to achieve so many awesome things?
Look, I think it's really important that these things were, they were available to me, and I think what I tried to do is seize them with both hands. I think both of my serious professional jobs at the moment, or since working with Indigenous communities as well as with the Banksia project, started as volunteering. So I was working full time elsewhere, and I actually volunteered my time. And I think it's really important that if you are trying to choose a career, and this might be it for now, but I'm sure I'll potentially get itchy feet and change down the track, but it's almost a try before you buy. I volunteered for both of those places, the organizations, but also the work that I was doing. And I said, I love it. And if you can turn something that you're that passionate about, that you're willing to give your spare time to, that you then start getting paid for it, it is phenomenal. And I'm not saying it's always going to work out that way, but the only way you can do it is by putting your hand up and saying, yep, I'm going to try and give that a go. For me, with the challenges that I faced, they weren't easy. And I was lucky that I had some really great people around me. But I think my mental health challenges didn't always present like the common mental health challenge. I was the person who did too much. I was the person who filled my schedule from beginning to end because I didn't want to face the emotions behind it. I was that sort of on the outside, it looked like I was ticking all the boxes. And I think that's really important to identify if we're talking about mental health, that, you can't stereotype what it's going to look, sound, or feel like for yourself or for someone around you, which is why it's so important that we need to check in with everyone and make sure everyone's okay. I guess how I tried to deal with those challenges was just focus on what I could control. It took a lot of time of self-reflection and working on myself and how I feel, but really trying to focus on what I could control in my circumstances and take hold of that as well, as proactively as I could.
Yeah, wow. That's so much great advice as well. And I guess it's kind of, understanding and knowing who to reach out to when you kind of do need a little bit of help as well. I would love to sort of take a bit of a pivot now, and really sort of hone into, your role within the Banksia project, because there is such we're in really quite an incredible time at the moment, especially in regards to, all the young people that are emerging. Everyone's into, people are into their causes, and they are openly pumped to actually talk about them, and they're educated, and everyone has an opinion, and it's really incredible just to see, just so many amazing young people actually, standing up for what they believe in. Because I know even when I was at high school that, I don't even think that I'd formed an opinion on anything yet, so it's amazing just seeing all these people that come through. But what do you actually do in your day-to-day job at the Banksia project? Can you sort of explain that to us?
Look, it's been an interesting journey. I've been the only full-time staff member for over 2 years. We now have a few more staff members on board. So I'm the garbage man. I'm the accountant. I'm the IT guy. I'm also the I guess sales, so to speak, presenting what we're doing. We have got some amazing people on board who I do need to give credit to, but to begin with, I didn't have a choice. It was whatever came across our organisation's desk I was dealing with. On a day-to-day basis now, it's a little bit more refined, but basically I spend a lot of time trying to design, well, what does the perfect program look like? I look at evidence. I think I'm really lucky that I can look at a journal, out finding or best practice research, and a week later I can actually be teaching that to a workplace or a group of people. But one thing I think that's really important to touch on as well, Kura, that you sort of brought up when you were asking me the question, is people in particularly young people today, they have these ideas or standpoints. I think the biggest thing that I think is that I learned is there are other people who feel the same as you. And I think we're at an age where we can connect with those people so easily, whether it's finding them on social media or even LinkedIn is a great resource, or just websites. There are meetups or virtual meetups now that probably when I was 17 or 18, I didn't have the courage to go, yes, this is what I'm actually really passionate about and I want to pursue. But I think if people do have something that they're like, what, this really gets me going, it makes me really excited, go and find people who are already really excited about that and connect with them. And that'll be the best learning you can find. You can find people they can stimulate your learning in that space, and they can also provide you with more options. And if they don't have a direct opportunity for you, whether it's volunteering, professional, even just learning and development, they'll probably know someone who does. And so I think that's really important to do your research and say, well, who's someone who's already thought about this before? Where's an organisation who's already trying to do this work? And how can I get connected with that organisation?
Brilliant advice. I reckon we'll keep this advice coming, Jack, and I'm going to ask you some questions now from the Q&A box, because, there's some really great ones coming through. The first one that's sort of jumped out at me is, thank you for being here. It's by Anonymous. So thank you for being here. I'm really unsure what to do after school. What should I focus on instead?
I think focus on you. Focus on, great question. Focus on you, and focus on, you don't have to have the answer of what I want to do right now, but you can say, well, I'm developing myself, and that might be your understanding of your own well-being and sort of what makes you tick and what your values are and what's important to you. And then also focus on, well, is there something that you can get involved in while you may have some spare time? You can get involved in an industry and you can sort of go, well, yeah, I really love that industry. For me, it was health. And I said, yeah, health's where I want to be. But it could have been something else. And, you might get a job in hospitality, and you might decide, I want to start a restaurant, or I want to go into hospitality. But the only way that you're really going to know if that industry is for you is if you try it. And so I think focus on exposure to as many different things as possible, but have a think about you and your values, and then try and align how you can pursue them.
Yeah, great tip. Whoa, love that. So
We're going
the next
deep.
question, yeah. Sorry. Well, the next question that we've got in the chat box is how can I find sport courses that will help me get into uni, sort of similar to what you've done?
Look, I think it's really important to identify there are some amazing programs available. I think the Sydney Uni Sport and Fitness program, for one, I'm really, really lucky that I had an opportunity there. They not only take you on as an athlete, but a student, most importantly, and they help you develop there. So there's a quick plug for them, but I do have a soft spot for them. But most universities do have a sporting faculty, and they have a sporting avenue that if it's something that you're passionate about, you've got some proven results in that sport, it is something that, there are really good options available. But I also think, they're not always going to align. There are people that, don't go to uni and do really well at sport. And there are also people that, they go to uni and they play sport somewhere completely different. So I don't think you need to align the two. I was lucky enough that I could, and I was, but I think what's really important is if that you are passionate about sport, I would really emphasize that, and I'm sure you've heard it from your parents or your teachers, and I'm just going to be another one repeating it to you, but there's nothing more important than making sure that you've got diverse options, because, sport, particularly if it's a physical sport, can be over in a second. And so you've got to make sure that you've got other passions and interests that you're excited to pursue if you get the opportunity.
Oh, I mean, you're just going to absolutely love this next question then, because it leads in perfectly to what you said.
Right.
It's from Emily, and she's asking, what advice do you have for someone who tries to take on everything, just like yourself? How do you deal with the feeling of not being enough or not doing enough?
Look, that is a really great question, and I wish there was a perfect answer for you, Emily. It's a tough one. I think it's something that I still work with today, and it's focusing on, probably again what I said, focusing on what you can control, and just being really forgiving of yourself. I think we so often compare to, whether it's social media or to other people, or even to myself, I'm comparing to other people in the industry, and we get so caught up in, I need to compete with them. And I think we really need to remove that and just go, well, what's the best that I can do today? What can I control today? And what can I achieve today that will hopefully play a bigger role? And if we can take some time to self-reflect and go, well, where do I want to be in 12 months? And then break that down and say, well, what do I need to do every 6 months to make sure I get there? What do I need to do every 3 months? And then hopefully you can focus on that in a daily achievement. But I also think it's okay if you have a day where you're like, you know what, I'm not going to do it today. I'm going to go and watch Netflix, or I'm going to go hang out with my mates. I think it's really important that I'm only 27. And hopefully most of the people that are listening to this are still in high school, or still early uni, or even just out of school. You don't have to have all the answers, because I don't have all the answers. And, the people that I work with don't have all the answers. We're all still working it out too. So just do something that you enjoy and keep doing it until you don't enjoy it anymore, and then look for something else. I think that's really, really important. You don't have to have it all sorted right now. But particularly for Emily's question, I think you need to have a good awareness of your capacity. And if you're starting to feel really stressed or overwhelmed, you need to take notice of that, and you need to work out strategies that you can manage your workload before you get to breaking point. Because unfortunately, and as you touched on, Kura, I learned the hard way. I let myself get to breaking point, probably because I had too much going on, and then I had to work my way back. Whereas if you can take that self-awareness early on in the piece, and you can work out, okay, well, how do I feel, and how do I start reacting when I'm starting to feel really overwhelmed? Hopefully you can pick up the warning signs early and start pulling back on a few commitments so that you can manage everything safely.
Yeah, great. I just love that. I think too, we have so many students that are involved in you know, in year 12 or even in uni, or even, you know, even those, like, let's be honest, like even those that actually have no idea what they want to do and aren't in either of those situations, you know, I think the stuff that you've mentioned today is just so applicable to anyone at any stage in their young life, because you know, there are some people out there are some guys that are currently in year 12 at the moment that are like, you know what, I actually have no idea what I want to do. I can't go on a gap year at the moment. You know, what are my options? And, you know, it's easy to sort of, you know, feel, I'm not going to say the word depressed, but it's easy to feel like, oh, what is going on? Like this heaviness. So, I mean, you know, Jack, if anyone watching this call now or even at a later date, if anyone wants to reach out to you and potentially ask you more questions or even get some help, do you have any resources, or can they reach out to you specifically?
Yeah, there's a few things that I will touch on that. Kura, one thing I was thinking of while you're speaking is particularly when you ask the question of pursuing more study and are there skills or are there things that we can do now? I'll never forget growing up watching my mum. She was I lived at home, just her and I, and she went back and studied while working full time and trying to raise probably not the most well-behaved teenager. So while getting me to all my sport and everything like that. And I remember watching how hard that was for her, but the passion she had for it. And I went, you know what, I want to get my study out of the way as soon as I can, because I have no other baggage. I don't have kids to worry about. I don't have a mortgage. I don't have any of that stuff. If I want to, I can manage my work hours so they're less. So the more skills you can pursue as early on while there are no other commitments, I would really encourage you to do that so that the options are available later, because you see it now from people who are my age all the way up to their 40s, 50s, 60s, where they go, oh, I wish I did that degree, and they go back and do it. And it's so much harder for them to do then than it is when they have less commitments. So get those skills. But Kura, absolutely, I'm really passionate about trying to help other people who are just looking for a little bit of guidance or support, because it's not easy to find your way. And I wouldn't say I've got it sorted out either, but I think it's really important that you have people around you who can guide or mentor you. There's a few different ways to get in contact. I think first and foremost, I'd say for everyone out there who's listening, go and follow the Banksia Project on Instagram. We try to be as active as possible, but also my own personal page, which is you'll be able to find it through that Instagram. And just reach out. I'm really open to that, but also shoot me an email. I'm not sure if my email has been made available, but I am happy for people to shoot me an email. And look, I may not be able to get to everyone in the next day or two, but I will do my best to actually respond to all of you individually. And I might not have the answers, but again, I might know someone who does.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, thank you very much, Jack. No, I will. We will be sharing the details, Jack's details, but also all the information, and we'll be circulating the video of the Banksia Project as well, either this afternoon or tomorrow. So you guys, you can continue on the conversation with Jack at a later stage. But Jack, thank you so much for joining us. I think we could, keep on going until like 10 o'clock tonight, but as the powers that be, we actually have to end it. So thank you so much for being here and sharing all your advice and tips. It's been amazing. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. And one thing I just want to add, and I won't take long, the Banksia Project, we didn't go too much into it, but it's a mental health charity. We provide free programs for connection and support. So I understand right now is a tough time for everyone. Our programs are for 18 plus. So I'm sorry if you're under that age bracket, but anyone who's above the age of 18, we have programs that are mixed genders, so both men and women, but also male only programs. If you're a young person who just needs a little bit of direction, a little bit of connection or support, we have people in these programs that are here for you to connect you, to support you and guide you through what you might be going through, because there's a good chance they've gone through it before. So please, and they're entirely free as well. So if you need a little bit of extra connection and support right now, which I think we all do, jump on our website and look into our growth room programs. But most importantly, I really just hope that, this CareerCon has given you some amazing options available and some passion and some energy to pursue something in what is a difficult time.
Oh, Jack, that was amazing. That was the perfect ending. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time, and have a good afternoon, and get ready for the onslaught of questions that are coming through.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me, Kura. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.
You're welcome. Thanks, Jack. Okay, guys. Well, that's a wrap for day one of CareerCon. I cannot thank you enough for joining us over the course of, today. We've gone through quite a lot of content, met plenty of speakers. You've had the opportunity to ask your questions, but don't worry, because it's not over yet. Tomorrow we have a massive day planned. We will be chatting with some past, present students at the Endota Wellness College, which would be incredible. We'll also be going through some STEM-related careers for any of you guys that want, a career in regards to science or technology. We'll be chatting with a couple of my favourite people, including Amy Clark, who is the editor at Adore Beauty. And we'll be really giving you guys the opportunity to ask your questions for a plethora of different industries. But before we go today, I would love to, we have a winner for our daily winner. So just a reminder that if you take a snap of yourself at CareerCon, whether it's at home, on the beach, even at school, and you post it to your Instagram, and you let us know via our hashtag, which is CareerCon 2020, but also through our tag, which is @thecoolcareer, then you go into the draw to win a prize. Now, we haven't told you guys what the prize is, but I am going to announce the winner today. So the first winner of day one is Aussie Holly. So Aussie Holly has taken a snap of herself, and I think she was involved in I think this was the Facebook chat that she's actually taken a picture of herself at. So Aussie Holly, thank you for being a part of CareerCon. You have actually won yourself a pretty nifty prize. It's a $500 joint voucher with some of the most incredible brands around. You've got some vouchers in there from Mecca, from Cotton On, from Frank Body. You can spoil yourself at Officeworks as well. So it's a total combined $500 prize. So if you want to reach out to us, we will get the details over to you as well, and we can claim your prize. Before I go today, guys, I really just want to send out a quick thanks to our event sponsors, the Business Chicks community, and also to the crew at AV 24/7, who have literally been a godsend over the past couple of weeks. We're very, very lucky to be surrounded by such incredible people that are willing to lift us up. So my message to you guys tonight is that I would really encourage you to actually sit by yourself, think about one thing that you really want to happen in your life right now, and just go for it. Just make that call, reach out on LinkedIn, send someone a message on Instagram, reach out to an AV company and say, hey guys, I need a bit of help. So whatever it is, reach out. There are so many people out there willing to help you. So again, thank you for joining us at CareerCon, and make sure that you tune in tomorrow for a big day too. Thanks guys, see you tomorrow.